Today I'd like to share a terrifying story that happened to me. I've been a drug addict for 13 years, but now I'm in recovery. I have now become a believer in Jesus Christ. This story happened 4 months ago when I was walking down the street and I saw a little bag with spice drugs. Spice is synthetic cannabis. I just took a little bit from this bag and smoked it. Immediately after that, I lost consciousness. I felt very high, like I was overdosing, but then I felt a little better. But right after that, I felt like I was dying. As I said before, I've been a drug addict for 13 years, and I have had many overdoses and many severe cases. I can distinguish between a hallucination, an overdose, or just distorted consciousness from what is real. But death is a very powerful and distinctive feeling. I remember how death began to consume me from my toes to the top of my body. It is very difficult to describe death, but believe me, it is terrifying. It was the scariest thing I have ever experienced. Nothing is comparable to that feeling, and death is horribly indescribable. My eyes were slightly open, and I saw 3 men standing near me. They were walking on the street and asked me if I was okay and if I was high. I could not say a single word, but I was no longer high anymore. I had a completely clear mind. I wanted to scream for help, but I felt numb. I could not move or say anything. Neither could I use my mouth nor I ask for help in my heart. But I knew what was happening to me very clearly, and I was terrified. I could feel my life was literally leaving my body. I was petrified, hopeless, and very scared. I knew there was no escape. When life finally left my body, I saw myself lying on the ground. I knew it was not just a pre-death state. I was 100% dead. Here's my body on the ground and my soul standing next to it. For a split second, I was not afraid anymore. It was just interesting to me what I was experiencing. The next thing I remember, I was on the ground again, and this is the horrifying part of my testimony. It was a night time and the asphalt was wet, but I remember the asphalt became transparent and dry. I could see the red-hot color on the ground. I didn't feel the heat, but I knew where I was going. It was hell. You cannot even imagine how scared I was at that moment. I didn't know what to do. I was on my side and my knees were bent. Very slowly I began to sink beneath the ground. It was terrifying. That moment took about a minute, and I saw my whole life during that minute. I realized how life is so short and everything is perishable and minor compared to the eternity I was heading to. I didn't feel any physical torture or heat. I truly regretted the meaningless life that I had lived. In that moment, I could contemplate about my life so deeply like never before. I don't think anyone who is still in their body could think like that. I very much regretted that I didn't give my life to Christ, but instead I wasted my precious life completely. Then I heard millions of people screaming. I could not recognize what they were screaming, but it originated from a very deep and painful place. Another thing I remember from that place is the stench. It is very hard to describe that horrible smell. It was a stench that was mixed with death and horror. God forbid you ever smell it one day. I was trying to scream. I didn't necessarily care about going back to my physical body anymore. I just didn't want to go to hell. I wanted to yell, "Jesus, help me," but I couldn't. It felt like my mouth was sewn shut. I could see and feel everything, and I still had a clear mind. but I couldn't open my mouth. I couldn't even pray to Jesus in my heart. The next thing I saw were demons who were waiting for people to come down to hell. I remember that about 7 demons grabbed me and began dragging me down very harshly. It was horrific to see how much demons hate humans. It's with a supernatural hate. These demons were half size of humans and had yellow and dark red colored skin. I don't remember their faces, but the shape of their bodies were like human. They were dragging me so forcefully and screaming at me. It is very frightening to think about what they can do to you when you're in hell for eternity. All of a sudden, my ability to speak came back to me. I just began to scream for Jesus, crying for help. I said, I will do anything for you, Lord. Please give me one more chance. Please save me. Then I saw this light from heaven. It was a very bright and extraordinary light. I said again, Jesus, please forgive me. I will follow you. Then I heard a voice from heaven saying, Do you promise? I said, Yes, I do. Then the power of God was like a magnet, and it pulled me back from hell into my body. The next thing that I remember, I was sitting on the ground just thanking God for saving me. And at that moment, the Holy Spirit touched me. I could not stop crying, repenting, and praising God. It was a supernatural joy from the Holy Spirit. At that moment, I realized that God cannot give you anything better than salvation. I experienced the real power of God, and salvation is infinitely better than being the richest or the most powerful man in the world. God's salvation is greater than anything else this world has to offer. Every one of us will get to that day when we die and have to leave our physical bodies for an eternity. What's going to happen to you when you die? Where will you go? Will you see a bright tunnel leading to heaven, or the ground becoming transparent underneath you and opening unto hell?